What's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to our Wednesday night live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, joined by the young lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy CJ Vogel, and the estimable Jerry Hamilton, the man himself. What's going on, gentlemen? A lot to talk about today. We got some schedule to get to. The 2025 schedules have been released with the SEC. We'll start there. Transfer portal stuff is also some things we'll get to. Sydir Mitchell, another name in the transfer portal for the Longhorns. So we'll talk about that. And of course, Texas in the college football playoff versus Clemson. And we can get to previewing that matchup as well. Your questions, comments, whatever you guys want to talk about, just throw it out there. We'll address as many of them as we can. Super chats always jump to the front of the line. Yes, William, you're right. No matter what time it is, OU still sucks. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. So basically, the show belongs to you. So we appreciate all you guys for joining us. What's up, CBC there in the chat? All right. What's going on, Jerry? How you doing? I haven't talked to you in a while, Jerry. How you feeling about things right now? Transfer portal. We can start wherever you want to. Transfer portal schedule. It's been a while since I've done a live stream with you.
Yeah, no, look, I super excited about the Clemson game, Rod. I think Texas is favored by, 11 and a half for a reason. Transfer portal, we posted on OnTexasFootball.com earlier. A few names to watch early, but it's still early. In the portal, I think there's going to be a lot more names jump in here, or maybe you're in, but there's a 48-hour period where the universities can still talk to those kids before it becomes official. I think, CJ, we talked about it today, 4 defensive linemen's now the number. With Sydir going to the portal, that number is 4. There's a couple of there's a safety from Purdue that Texas may have some interest in, but it's going to be tough to beat Ohio State and Notre Dame for him, Dylan Tiemann. There's a couple of punters from Purdue and Utah. There's a defensive lineman from Purdue, Cole Brevert, a 333-pound over-the-ball player that has some interest. I think Texas is looking at Kelby Collins from Florida as a 5-tech rod. So there's a lot of things going on. It's really exciting. North Carolina's got a new football coach almost.
Oh, man, I do want to get to that one point. I know we'll talk about Longhorn stuff, but I got to get you guys thoughts about Belichick coaching at North Carolina.
I got one, Rod.
Well, you got I got a bunch. You got one.
I think I'm going to hit the one you're not. The 24-year-old girlfriend has to look over her shoulder now, or what?
Hey, you know what? That's a great. I don't think so. I think Bill Belichick, considering how long they've been together, I think he's smitten, man. I think he's smitten, no doubt. He's probably had a chance at some other young ladies before. Bill Belichick likes this young lady, whatever her name is. I mean, she's 24 years old, however she is. All right, so we'll get to that because I want to talk about, we'll get you guys' thoughts about that, some college football discussion overall. But let's start with the schedule, gentlemen. We'll start with the schedule, and then we'll work our way back to the other topics, talk transfer portal, talk Texas, Clemson. But the schedule is top of mind because it was released earlier today. There you see it. Thank you very much, Maggie, for putting it on your screen there. The Longhorns start out this schedule. They're going to be, to start out things, that's the SEC schedule. They'll be at Ohio State, as we know, to start out. Then they got San Jose State, UTEP at home. Then they'll have a bye week, and then they'll have Sam Houston State. So they start out, at least at Ohio State, then you get, at least some time to gather yourself, and then you hit the SEC schedule. They're at Florida, as you see there. Then you got Texas, Oklahoma, of course, in Dallas, at Kentucky. That'll be in October. So basically in October, you start out at Florida versus Oklahoma. So you're in Dallas. You're at Kentucky the 18th of October, and then you're at Mississippi State to close out the October schedule. So you're not at home actually at all in the month of October. Then you got Vanderbilt to start out November. Then you got another bye week. Then you're in the season, which is also a tough stretch, at Georgia versus Arkansas. Then you got the Aggies at home as well. So back-to-back games to end the season against your rivals at home. That's a good thing. But what are your thoughts about the schedule, gentlemen? I'll throw it to you first, CJ. As it lays out, what were your initial thoughts when you saw the 2025 schedule for the Longhorns?
Good year not to have season tickets, I think, at home at DKR. I don't think it's a very pretty schedule. I don't think it's a very appealing schedule. Just off the jump, I actually kind of got some Big 12 vibes from this schedule, just from the home slates particularly.
Wow.
The road slate, I think, is going to be really fun, and it's going to be a big challenge. If you're a big road trip guy, you're in luck, because going to Columbus, going to Athens, going to the Swamp, yeah, buckle up. That'll be a lot of fun if you enjoy, packing up the car and heading out. But the home slate, if you're based in Austin, if you like making the trip down to DKR, at least you close out the season pretty strong with Arkansas and Texas A&M. But other than that, some snoozers in there at home.
That closing stretch, I love that comment someone threw out there. 3 rivals in a row. Hey, I have said before, I think Texas plays Georgia 4 to 5 times over the next 2 years, making an it rivalry. So I agree with you, Travis. I think right now, if you're Texas, you definitely consider them a rival because they've for the first times, the last 2 times you played them, you've been mollywopped pretty much by that Georgia defense. What are your thoughts, Jerry? And what do you think about the schedule?
I love that the 3 rivalry games in a row because, Rod, it carries over from recruiting too. Justice Terry, those recruiting battles create rivalries too, right? Texas recruiting in Georgia, so it's a budding rivalry. It'll never be the rivalry, but it can be a rivalry of sorts for sure. It won't take much for those players, those teams to get up for each other in those games. Look, it's wild to me that the Ohio State game's right off the bat. We knew it, but still, I mean, so Arch takes over, and your first game as the man, as the leader at the quarterback position for Texas at Ohio State. The other interesting thing will be how many returning quarterbacks are there on this schedule. Howard's gone at Ohio State, right? I'll bypass the next 3. Because Lagway was hurt against Florida, different quarterback than who they saw this year. Oklahoma, we'll see. That could be a portal, and then it shouldn't be Hawkins. Kentucky, different quarterback than started. It'll be the freshman that came in last year. Mississippi State, different quarterback than last year. Vandy, different quarterback. Georgia, likely Gunnar Stockton, different quarterback than started against you twice this year. Arkansas, Taylor Green will be back. A&M, let's see. Zeno, they just grabbed Zeno from the portal. So, Rod, it's crazy that the teams just flipped home and away. But how many changes at quarterback they're going to be on that schedule? You're not going to see very many familiar faces at that position.
Yeah, that was a pretty large talking point that we had coming into the year. But also you could combine that with brand new head coaches. Right now, unless Ryan Day completely, squats his bed a little bit, I think you might be playing the coach's continuity is going to be a little bit different than what Texas had at least last year. But the quarterbacks, that means a whole lot in my eyes.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. Looks like, just from it, the toughest quarterback on the schedule. I don't know, but right now, maybe Lagway might be the one. That you worry about the most, right? He's just he can just be a fire starter at the quarterback position. So, and Florida's playing their best football. They believe when they play with Lagway in there. You can tell the team plays differently when he's in there. So they're hoping to kind of pick up where they left off this last season. What are your thoughts about where the bye weeks are? That's always the interesting part of the schedule. Did you get help from where the bye weeks are, or you wish they were in a different spot? I think I like the second one.
I like the second one. The first one you wish was after Sam, right? That's the thing. You wish you had a bye week before Florida and the open week before Georgia.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Then it would be perfect. I guess there's no perfect schedules, but that would have been perfect.
Yeah, I like.
Because I look at it. You got a really tall task, and then you got 2 games, and you're open again. You've only played 3 games, and you got 6 in a row, and then you got to play 3 more to close off. You would have liked to have seen that 4, 5, 4, whatever the differences are there. Again, no perfect schedule this year, but that open week, week 4 it is on September 20th. It doesn't really feel like you've done a whole lot to deserve a bye right there, and then you come back out of it, play Sam Houston. I probably would have preferred to see that the week after Sam Houston, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. That November stretch though, that is no doubt the most interesting stretch of the schedule there. With at Georgia, then you got Arkansas, and you got A&M back-to-back weeks to close out the season. There's no doubt. That will pretty much determine that'll determine your college football playoff seeding and status. Going back to the SEC title game, in my opinion.
Rod, we can say this early on. You want to be 8-1 starting that last 3-game stretch. You want to have a little margin for error, because you're at Georgia. But you want to be 8-1 after on November 15th when you take the field in Athens.
Yeah, normally on that. Yeah, just yeah. You
What
never
is
really
that?
know.
Yeah,
Crazy
yeah.
things happen against rivals.
I was gonna say, where would you see the games that you have to win? Obviously, Ohio State at the Swamp in
At
Dallas. Are there any that stand out that maybe could sneak up on you?
I mean,
it's hard to find a trap game on this schedule right now. I agree with that. I don't really see a trap game. It's the way it lays out. I don't really see one.
Yeah.
Your rivals can be trap games. That's a rival.
Yeah, there's not a Kentucky kind of hidden and sandwiched between Arkansas and a Texas A&M. Here, your big phases are obviously your preseason. I think that flips after Sam Houston. Then it gets into the conference slate. You want to go 5-0 to begin, and then phase 3 is those last 3 games. Phase 4, to put it to Sarkisian's terms this year, is obviously the playoffs there.
All right, good stuff. Let's get to we got a super chat here I want to get to. And we'll come back to talking about some of the schedule, but also get to some transfer portal stuff. But Dax has a question. He said, will the early enrollees be on campus for the playoff game? How can Texas host recruits at that game?
Yeah, so high school recruits, I don't believe they can host anybody for if there's portal visitors, official visitors, yes. But high school recruiting is dead, period. So I don't think they can host anybody for that game. But again, if there's portal, that's open. You can have guys at the game if they're on visits, from what I understand. Early enrollees will be, I don't know if they'll be on campus. Some of them may join the team, but those guys aren't moving in until January 13th.
Yeah.
So I'll follow up with that a little bit this week, but I think a couple of guys were hoping to be, but I'm not sure if they actually will be.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll get back to the schedule conversation, of course, and we're going to talk about the transfer portal a little bit. The Longhorns, who have guys who are entering the transfer portal and possibly at least some of the possible acquisitions the Longhorns could have via the transfer portal. But first, let's thank our sponsor, Andy Ludicky. We appreciate Andy Ludicky and his team for sponsoring our team here at On Texas Football. You can see right there. You can see on your screen. You can see the number there. You can check out Andy Ludicky. He does a great job if you're looking to diversify. You may be someone like me or someone like Bob who has their hands in multiple businesses. Well, Andy can help you diversify by helping you find businesses that will fit your time allotment and your financial goals. You can call him or email him to learn more about his process. If you're stuck in the corporate rat race with 2 weeks PTO and no control over the money you can make or your schedule in general, please call Andy today. He will take you through a process to help you find a business that will fit your skill sets and your financial goals. Franchise ownership isn't for everyone, but if you have a desire to take control of your financial destiny, call Andy, or you can email him right there on your screen. You can see it, Andy@myperfectfranchise.net, or give him a call at 404-973-9901. That's 404-973-9901. Thank you to Andy Ludicky and his team for being a part of our team here at On Texas Football. All right, let's talk a little bit about the transfer portal, guys. We'll get to your questions. I promise you that. We'll get to those here in just a second, but let's talk a little bit about the transfer portal. There was a development, another one for the Longhorns, and it seems like now there may be some concern that the Longhorns will no doubt be looking for defensive tackles at the during the transfer portal. Because four defensive linemen have entered the transfer portal for the Longhorns. Sydir Mitchell being the latest. What are your thoughts, CJ, about Sydir Mitchell hitting the transfer portal and really how thin the Longhorns are now based on that group for 2025?
Yeah, for 2025, it's very thin. There's no sugarcoating that. You're now down to about 86 total snaps, and all of them come from Alex January for the 2025 roster. On Sydir specifically, I think if you would have asked anybody from the spring up to about maybe week 5 or 6, the answer would have been, oh, yeah, he's for sure going into the portal. I do think that there was a bit of a come-together moment for Sydir and Texas, and there was some positive moments towards the end of the year, right? You got to see him in a few games back-to-back. Again, I think he only racked up about 40 total snaps on the season, but it did feel like there were steps in the right direction to retain him, to keep him on roster for 25, and obviously to enhance what his role would have been next season. The issue is, obviously, he entered the portal, and now Texas is down to Melvin Hills and Alex January from this past recruiting class, the 3 freshmen coming in at the turn of the semester, and the rest will have to be filled in from the portal. So you got 5 guys for what you'd like to have as a very senior position, a place with a lot of experience. You don't have that right now. Jerry and I believe that 4 is the number for the Longhorns to go out and target out of the portal. Last year they took 3. 2 became really key pieces of the Texas defense. And again, going back to where this current defense is right now, I keep going back to that core 4 on the interior. It's Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jermaine Lole, and it's Bill Norton. Who can you rely on in these big situations? And obviously to stock away for injuries right now, I think it's Alex January, and it's a bunch of guys who haven't seen the field. So Texas is going to have to do a lot of work so far in the portal and moving forward, Jerry. And look, it's not an easy spot to recruit to.
No.
There's a lot of competition. So my thought on this was in terms of Sydir is I love Sydir coming out of high school as a prospect. Obviously, those guys have to go reach their ceiling, and now somewhere else he's got to go work towards it because he's a long way from it. So I think today you look at it and you're like, dang, man, this is another guy left, but he had 36 snaps. I think Texas – so today I think it looks different than if Texas goes out and gets somebody who has 3 years and has a little bit more production at the college level. Then you're going to be looking at it after the portal closes or after Texas gets their guys, say, oh, yeah, that wasn't as big a deal as it was the day it happened. And that's just for me because, I mean, Sydir's he's got a long way to go to get to that ceiling. And you've seen 1 step forward and 2 steps back with him, and you never saw enough of the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that doesn't mean I don't think he can go be a good player somewhere. But I think Texas will fill out their needs. I mean, remember, Jermaine Lole was really late last year. Bill Norton, a lot of people, Vernon is outplayed where people thought he'd be this year. I think Texas will be all right there, but it's going to be a lot of turbulence getting there. That's just where I see it, because the problem is, say there's 4 really good defensive linemen that jump in the portal. The problem with that is A&M's going to want those same guys. Georgia may want one of those guys. I mean, you can just look around at who's losing defensive linemen off their teams. So it's not going to be easy with those very top tiers. So then you got to let Kenny Baker evaluate those other guys to see who's a really good scheme fit for what they do. I think Texas wants 2 guys that are frontline guys and a couple of rotational guys, because Alex January, I think, is going to move into one of those frontline guys next year. So it's just, and then the freshmen coming in are all really, really talented. They'll all be in for spring. So I think there's going to be some turbulence, but I think they're going to get there. And I think after they get there, it'll be different the way you look at Sydir then versus as it is now, because 36 snaps on the surface right now, you're like, man, this leaves a huge hole. But he also only played 36 snaps this year. Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's tough, right? Because you want proven commodities via the transfer portal. You can't really afford to roll the dice on potential, especially at that position. Right. And like you said, there's a lot of competition for those proven commodities at that position. So Kenny Baker, he's already shown us a lot as a coach. And now you got another burden on him. He's got to kind of expedite the development of that group and try to see which one of those guys is going to be able to help him of that young young crop of defensive tackles. All right, I know we got a lot of questions here, so let's try to get right to them, because I know you guys have been throwing them out. So we'll try to start here at the top. How about this one? This one from Jason. Jason says, are there any D tackles Texas is interested in that have become available in the portal? Getting kind of thin there with the guys leaving. Is it a little early? Is it too early yet?
A little early, because let's see who else jumps in. But like Cole Brevard at Purdue is a guy that Texas has some interest. Does that mean they're going to offer him, going to go all in? We can't say that. But he's a 6'2", 6'3", 333-pound experienced player that started a lot of games for Purdue this year. He kind of fits that profile of a guy that Texas is looking for, 1 or 2 of those guys. But, you know, Kelby Collins at Florida getting a look, but I'm not sure that's a fit necessarily. Anthony Holmes at Houston told me he hadn't heard from Texas. I think there may be some other guys jumping in too. But Cole Brevard's one that I think Texas is taking a long look at. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get him, just because even if you decide you want him, there's going to be competition. But that's one name that I have heard.
All right. Thank you for that, Jason. Kenneth wants to know, Rod Davis, what are y'all's thoughts on being able to pick up 3 quality D tackles in the portal? Well, they did it last year. Well, no, they picked up 3 quad. They picked up 2 that actually were contributors, and then 1 Sevilla that didn't contribute as much. But they did get 3. Sark was adamant about it. Texas right now, I think, because of the reputation they're developing and the standard they're playing at, you want to play for championships, and obviously NIL is a big part of this conversation too. I'm sure Texas can be in the competition in terms of negotiating with anybody in the country in that regard. So I feel pretty confident, guys, that if Sark wants to get 3 D tackles, I remember saying after the spring game that we need big bodies. I need big humans on the D line, and they were adamant. They went out and got them. I'm going to trust Sark in this regard. I remember during the offseason when he said he wasn't worried about the secondary. And I was like, man, that's a bold statement considering how bad the secondary was last year to say you're not concerned about it. And turns out Sark was seeing something that we weren't because they're the best secondary in the country this year. So I'm going to trust Sark that he's not going to let a glaring hole or deficiency like D tackle go, unaddressed. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, look, I mean, he added 3 last year, and there were still 2 that they got to campus, and we're very close to adding as well, right? Jay Toya ended up staying at UCLA, and obviously Dominic Williams. That was a big win for Oklahoma at the time. I wonder if he may have some second thoughts, depending, kind of how those seasons have gone. But look, when Texas is on, guys, it's top of the food chart whenever it comes to, or food chain, excuse me, when it comes to the pecking order of Texas, other schools. Where do I want to end up? Texas will have their say.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right. Super chat here from Sugar Poppy. Rod, what was it like being a baller at UT with a roster of ladies the wonderful institution has? Oh, man. Yeah, it was. I won't get too deep into the stories. I'll just say this.
I have a follow-up.
Okay, yeah, I'll just say this. The wonderful roster. I loved dating the athletes because I track girls, soccer girls. I was one of my biggest regrets. I never dated one of the volleyball ladies. So because I would have loved to date a 6'2", you know what I mean? Obviously I'm married now, but even once you're out of that, out of that ecosystem, you can't hit on a 6'2" woman when I'm 5'9". It ain't gonna, that CJ, we short kings. It ain't gonna work that way.
Never been able to.
You don't want to have to be the one to wear high heels.
It's tough. But on campus, it's almost like 5'10", but Rod B, I'm taller because I'm a baller, as Sugar Poppy said. So I can do it on campus, and I always regret it. I should have dated a couple of volleyball ladies, and I never did. But all the other athletes, man, I pretty much love to dabble in all the other sports. It was fun.
Follow up for Rod.
Go ahead.
Replace your name with Chris Sims.
Oh, man. Now, Sims, that was a whole nother level, man. Because Sims not only had the fame and the notoriety, it was well known. This is before social media, anything. I do in the newspaper and everything. But he rode around. He had an Escalade back then, back when like Escalades just came out. It was clean. And he had, back then, I shouldn't be saying this out there, but had a black card. Clean. Yeah. So, boom. Hey, we go to the nicest restaurants, hang out, have a good time. So we was balling back then. But I'll tell you what, the best time I had, though, not joking, it was not when I was on campus originally as an athlete. Because I was focused on other stuff, man. I was trying to get to the league, it was about classes. So I'll admit, I probably should have been putting in, more work on the social scene, but I wasn't. I was kind of focused on trying to get to the league, and we wanted to win championships. That was a lot of my time. Trust me, I got it in. But I'm just saying, not as much as I could have. But when I went back to school, like Rodney Dangerfield, went back to school after getting done in the league, still had a little league money, still had my NFL ID card. Boom.
You just kind of walk by and drop that thing. Oh, sorry about that.
Still had the NFL player card. You could just throw out there and get into the clubs and the restaurants. That time, that was probably the most fun I've had as to getting a chance to, like Sugar Poppy said, to enjoy the wonderful ladies of the institution. I went back to school. Oh, no football to worry about, just school and social scene.
Did you have a dog too? Did you go to the dog park? Did you do all of it, Rod?
No, I did. I probably should have. I did not. I should have had. I did not. I didn't need that. I didn't even need the dog, man. It was just too easy. Yeah. Hey, trust me. I was in every study group. I was in the front of the class. Had a good time, man. I had a good time going back. So thank God for Mac Brown and UT for letting me go back to school. On scholarship, by the way. On scholarship. Not even playing. It was a beautiful thing. All right. Anyway, let's basically get back to the super chats before I get out of control. So Sugar said, what did the NFL players' cars look like? They were black back in my day. They were black. And they had like, this, I don't know, some holographic stuff to make you think I was really good. Like, you pull it out the club, you get in.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. They told me, they said, dude, pull it out because I was in New York. When I first got drafted, they were like, dude, you're going to need it because everybody big time in New York. All right. So you're trying to get in somewhere, you're going to need to pull an NFL card out, and then you can skip the lines and then get your VIP treatment. And they was right. So I don't know if it still works that way. But if you're in Tennessee or something, you don't even need an NFL card. Everybody knows who you are. But if you're in New York, you need it. You're in you're in those bigger cities, you need the NFL card so you kind of stand out. So the dog, right? I did need the dog because he was a big dog. Hey, I do love dogs though, actually. I probably should have had one back in the chick magnets, man. It's automatic. All right, let's get back to let's get focused here, guys. All right, Juan says
we were.
Juan says, okay, Jerry, honest opinion on Bill Belichick to UNC. Go. I'll give you mine too, actually.
I don't like it, man, for Bill. I think he's setting up his kid, though, Rod. I think as much as anything. I understand the guys have coaching in their blood. I get it. He probably is bored. Man, I think it's going to be tough. I don't think kids are going to be flocking to North Carolina because Bill Belichick's the head coach. It doesn't work that way. The only way it works that way is if North Carolina can compete in the NIL game.
Yeah.
But if they can't, it doesn't matter who's your coach anymore. Things have changed. Yep.
That's a good point. I will say that and they have picked up their NIL game because of Dion. The celebrity of Dion, I think, is making people think that, it could be different. If he brings, I don't know who he's hiring for his staff. He's got to bring celebrity coaches basically onto his staff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like celebrity coaches, but I mean coaches that are well known and recognizable to young people, whether it be former players or whether that be coaches who have time in the NFL, who have that kind of pedigree. Because basically, I'm like with you, Jerry, if they're not going to compete all NIL, which I'm sure they're going to up the NIL support, of course, they're going to do that. But they also got to sell that, hey, man, we are the NFL. That's what we are. I got all NFL coaches here. I'm on the GOATs in the NFL. I got all the connections. If you want to go to the league, all I got to do is make a call. This guy's a league guy. Boom. That's what it is. Bill's going UNC for the co-eds. Come on now. No, man. No, he's got one already. He's got a little young thing.
The one thing Bill does have going for him, though, in this is one of your best buds is Nick Saban. Nick's gonna, I think, give him a pretty good blueprint. Because I know people say, oh, Belichick doesn't need he doesn't need any help. Now, that's not the way these guys work. I mean, they all talk, right? They have those conversations. Nick's going to probably give them some thoughts on NIL and the college football and this, part of the things to look at in the staff from a recruiting perspective. Because, Belichick hasn't done this, and I don't care how great of a coach you are. It's a big transition. I mean, it's a big transition because you don't want to be the one that's always on the phone at 11:30 at night. You're 70 years old. I mean, so I think it'll be, at least he's got the best that's ever done it, who's a really good friend of his that I think will kind of say, hey, look, you do your thing, but here's some of my thoughts that would help you out.
Yeah. And whoever is the general manager or the player personnel over there at UNC, get ready to work some overtimes, if you will, because I don't know how hands-on you're going to see Bill Belichick in the recruiting world. He will be, obviously, but I can't imagine as hands-on as some of these other coaches that are kind of undertaking this whole process.
And I can't imagine Bill Belichick waiting for a wishy-washy kiss to sign this team. LOL. Yeah, the hat doing the hat thing. I can't imagine either.
I'm just seeing him back there with a grimace. Like, oh, just pick the team already.
The coaches he hires is going to be big, man. But there's a good point about Nick Saban. They're really close. I'm sure Nick is going to be kind of advising his close friend on how to deal with kind of the new age athletes. But okay, how old is Belichick? 72?
72.
And the lighting is down too. When Mac 73? How old was Mac?
Yeah, I mean, they went younger. North Carolina definitely went younger on this hire.
They went young, like I think said Mac was
6 months.
Good Lord, that's crazy. All right, yeah, I can't wait to see boys. Some people are saying it's going to tarnish his legacy. I don't think so because we don't look at Nick Saban's legacy being tarnished because he couldn't, coach in the league. It wasn't a success there. We look at it differently. We for some reason I think we all look at it a little bit differently, and they might as well be two different sports, kind of the way things are broken down in terms of talent acquisition, talent retention, contracts, that kind of stuff. All right. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that. Before we get back to our questions, let me thank another one of our sponsors for the evening. Let's thank our good friends over at DG Construction. That's right, folks. Really excited that DG Construction is on board, and you should be as well, folks. It is a great product. That's a great service, I should say. Texas fans in the Austin and San Antonio area, are you dreaming of transforming your outdoor spaces? Look no further than DG Construction, San Antonio's premier hardscape and exterior living space contractor, celebrating 10 amazing years of delivering top-notch craftsmanship. The guys at DG Construction are experts at creating stunning driveways, patios, walkways, and beautiful lawn improvements in either concrete or vivid pavers that match and enhance the curb appeal of your home's exterior. Whether you're in San Antonio, Austin, Kerrville, or anywhere in the Hill Country, their dedicated team brings your residential and commercial business to life. From luxurious artificial turf to sturdy house slabs and even foundation repairs, DG Construction has got you covered, folks. They're just a call away. Reach out to Mark Valdez, their dedicated design consultant and a longtime subscriber of the On Texas Football family. That's right, folks. You can get a free consultation today. Just reach out to them today. Give them a call at 210-400-5643. That's 210-400-5643. Don't wait. Reach out today and make your outdoor dreams a reality. Give DG Construction a call or visit them online at dgsatx.com. That's dgsatx.com. Hook them from the folks at DG Construction, where outdoor dreams meet exceptional designs. And you can see those some examples of those exceptional designs right there. So we appreciate our friends over at DG Construction for being a part of the On Texas Football family. Oh, I want to know about this one. This is from Alessandro Franco. Thank you. Will Texas go after Tacario Davis? I thought he was going to the draft. I mean, he's not going to the draft?
I mean, he entered the portal. He could go. I think he could go either way on this, CJ. But yes, Texas will have interest in him. They had interest the last time. But that is a good question, Rod, is just because he entered the portal doesn't mean he doesn't go to the NFL too.
Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking, my man CB here, Chris Bennett says, CJ and Jerry, are there interest in the two Arizona defensive players in the portal? And that is basically Jerry saying, well, two, I know Tacario Davis. What's the other one? Is there a linebacker that entered as well?
It's a safety. Is it Dalton Johnson, I believe is his name. Pretty productive safety over the last 2 years, 96 and 83 tackles respectively. Can force fumbles, has a handful of interceptions. A pretty solid safety option. I've yet to hear Texas going all out for, or really even turning over a lot of stones for Dalton Johnson. Tacario Davis, on the other hand, that's the one that I would keep a closer eye on, simply because of last year, the interest almost immediately with him in Texas whenever he entered the portal. Obviously, he stayed at Arizona. For folks who are unfamiliar with Tacario Davis, one of the lengthier, longer, taller cornerbacks you'll see in the entire country. He's about 6'4", can really run. He was going up against McMillan over there in practice every day as well. So he's well seasoned there. Yeah, he's a good player. Good player to watch on film too. All right, how about this one from Michael Simpson? Thank you, Michael, for the question. Say, Jerry and CJ, why don't you think the staff has been pursuing guys like Keyshawn Silver? I get that they expect bigger fish, but UT now needs 4 to 5 D tackles. Feels like they should be throwing lots of lines. Thanks, Michael. Well,
I think it'll be interesting now that the need's 4. Do they go with maybe a guy like that who hasn't had a lot of playing time, that's kind of been de-recruited, been developed a little bit, and maybe this will be his year to become a more of a factor? Or are they just looking for the 4 best, most experienced in-game players that they can get? I think that's what'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, Keyshawn Silver, he hit me up today and said he hasn't heard from Texas. So I've talked to or DM'd about 4 D linemen, and for all 4 of those guys I was just checking in on said they haven't heard from Texas. Could things change on Thursday? Sure. But I think there's still some names that are going to pop into the portal.
Wow. Okay. Thanks. Good stuff there. Sorry, CJ. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, going back to last year, just kind of the slow, if you will, slow approach to the portal that Texas taken. A portal opened up on December 4th last year. Texas earned its first commit out of the portal December 16th, and then it went December 20th, December 24th, and that was it for the first month of the portal. And you saw all the other action in January and then in the spring as well.
Okay. No, good stuff there, guys. How about this is a good question actually from Edward. And I think we all speculate and have some maybe experience of our own with this, either firsthand or secondhand. Edward says, how many players that end up leaving are asked to leave? Does that ever happen if we need depth at a certain position? That's a great question. I mean, in terms of asked to leave, or is it implied that
it's worded?
Yes. Okay. Basically, is it just being honest? And because they do player evaluation at the end of every player assessment, end of every year. We did it back in my day. You do it now at the end of every season. Player assessment. You come in, talk to the coach. He tells you where you are on the roster and what you got to work on to, basically achieve your dreams, right? To maximize your talent. Is it in that meeting now where, because I didn't have the transfer portal, so the meetings were different because they were trying to, they really didn't have to worry about retention back then. You was there. Unless you want to transfer and lose a year, you were staying at the University of Texas most of the time. So my meetings probably were a little more brutally honest than maybe the meetings are now. But if they are honest and maybe a little insensitive in these meetings, is that because they are trying to imply that, hey man, maybe you'll be best served if you moved on?
I definitely think things are worded also with agents nowadays.
Oh, that's true. Good point.
Because there's two outlets you have to talk to nowadays. So you have your meetings with the kids. But I think, look, I mean, it's like more like, hey, man, we think you're really talented. You've had a tough time breaking through. And, it's just we can't guarantee you can break through. Well, that's pretty much
Yeah.
It's not happening here.
I remember those in the NFL when they used to cut me. And they'd be like, it's basically it's not you, it's me. They would give you that from the team perspective. Be like, you're a great player, you're awesome. The numbers don't work here. That's what I got while I got cut like 5 times. I got there like 3 times. The numbers, they were like trying to show them to you. See the numbers. We have this many DBs, and you are down here. So we gotta cut you. I'm like, okay. it was never that I was a bad player. They were never like, you suck as a player. So we're moving on.
You got to be careful in those exit meetings anytime you throw around the G word guarantee, because that gets you in some hot water moving forward.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So people have asked about Jaheim Otis. Texas hasn't shown any interest there. Before anybody else asks on Bear Alexander, I don't think that's one either.
All right.
David Stowe, Bobby Burton says no.
There you go. All right. Let's get back to a couple of the questions. How about this one from William? Oh, super chat from William. Thank you, William. We appreciate the super chat. Can I get y'all's opinions on KJ Lacey and Dia Bell? How do their games differ, and which one do you think has a bigger upside? That is good. This is a good question. Thank you, William.
Hey, producer Matt, can you pull up Dia Bell's tweet of him working out yesterday? I think he posted on his Twitter. Because he is now that'll be interesting for people that haven't seen that. He posted a video of him working out after that injury that ended his high school. By the way, Florida Gatorade Player of the Year. Congrats to Dia Bell.
Oh.
KJ Lacey's he's a point guard playing quarterback. He's gonna be. Here's Dia Bell. So you see the cast on the right lower leg after the injury, but back in the gym working out. I'm gonna reach out to somebody there in that camp here in the next 3 days, see if they want to talk about the injury. I think if they would have put something out, honestly. But there you see, that to me is the best news that could have come out of that injury from the night that happened, because that was pretty scary to me. But I just wanted to show that for the Texas fans that maybe hadn't seen it, that he's on the mend. Yeah. As far as those two guys, that's an interesting question. I think, look, they're different type of mobility, Rod, is CJ. I think KJ Lacey is a playmaker in the pocket, out of the pocket, but not necessarily a guy that's going to go running with the football. Dia Bell, see how he comes back off that injury. He's got that. I would say this, and this is a kind of Cade Klubnik with a little bit more lateral movement as a runner.
I like that.
He's not Lenoris Sellers, right? He's not anything like that. But he is a good athlete that is going to be a run threat from outside the pocket. I'm not sitting here saying you're going to be calling QB runs for him. But KJ Lacey's he's trained with David Morse for years, since third grade. Same person Arch trained with, and Eli worked with him in off seasons. He's going to look to play with his arm. Yeah. Feet are absolutely last resort. I think Diabell will use his feet and maybe has a little more vertical speed there. That's the difference I see in those guys as athletes at the quarterback position.
I think that's pretty spot on. Again, I look at KJ Lacey again. You mentioned the basketball background, just being able to distribute the rock in in a variety of ways. That's what he does very well. With the legs, look, KJ's going to be a guy, he talked about it going into the paint. The paint's where all the big people are, and when you start taking off as a quarterback, you're now susceptible to all of those big people, especially in the middle of the field. KJ will be a guy for me who, if he does take off, I'm going straight to out of bounds, or I'm going straight down after I pick up my 4, 5, 6, whatever it might be. Not to say that he can't do it, just in the sense that, look, not a very big quarterback, right? He's pushing 6 feet right now. You watch his tape, he does move around very well in the pocket, but it's not to the extent of, okay, my first, second read aren't there, the pocket's collapsed, let me take off with the legs, right? It's always let's extend, let's utilize my arm. That's always been one of the big selling points for me with KJ is his arm's going to outlive his legs, and he knows it. And that's the way that he's kind of been wired as a quarterback, to utilize his arm more so than he will with his legs, which is going to be really interesting to see what that looks like at the next level. And for Dia, obviously, what do you look like when back to full health, right? Can you pair the legs, the arm, and everything in between? Because I think he did a pretty solid job this past fall in terms of knowing when to take off, knowing when to check down, knowing when to huck it deep. That's a tough thing to learn early on.
Yeah. It seems like Sark's quarterbacks are getting more mobile. I'm not sure if it's just the evolution of the QB position, just because quarterbacks are just more athletic overall and functional mobility, or if Sark is looking at, the improvisation factor and variable that every now and then, hey, I need a guy that can work off schedule, that when the play breaks down, I need somebody that can make something happen. It's interesting the way it's breaking down. Good question there. Thank you for that. This one, let's get a question from Lou Dog. Lou Dog, appreciate that. Who are the Clemson good players in the front seven? Oh, that is good. We haven't done much preview, but
Peter Woods at D tackles their best player, best pro prospect.
And I know they're big playmakers. TJ Parker, he's the guy that's got double-digit sacks for him. He's a beast. I like their linebackers, actually.
They're good players. The 2D linemen, Peter Woods and TJ Parker from the state of Alabama, Dabo's home state. Peter Woods is a 5-star, top 15 level kid in the country. He's the one guy that Nick Saban, he's from Alabaster, Alabama. That's the one of the few that got away from Nick in state that he really wanted. Peter Woods, good player, really solid interior guy, can play in multiple gaps for them. Tough to move. He's very good. TJ Parker has 11 sacks, and I said this on Coffee and Football.
That dude's an NFL player.
6 of those sacks came in 2 games. He had 4 against Pittsburgh, but he's a big guy too, 6'3", 265, is from Phoenix City Central, who spits out 4 or 5 power fours a year at this point. Good player, got to block him up front. You mentioned Sammy Brown, the freshman linebacker out of Georgia, was a 5-star last year. Yeah, their best corner is Avion Terrell. You see him there. They're a little young in the secondary, guys. That'll be interesting to see because Dabo doesn't portal. So he's going to be young at positions, more so than a lot of teams.
Yep. Barrett Carter or Sammy Brown, those are going to be 2 guys that fly around to the football. They're everywhere. Sammy Brown's a heck of an athlete.
Yeah. I agree. That's what I say. When you watch film on them, the linebackers stand out, man. They make plays. And you're right. I'm with you, Jerry. TJ Parker, just say he's a man out there. Thank you for the question, Lou Dog. We appreciate that. Let's get to another question here. This one comes from, how about this one from Brian Berg? I like this question. He says, what do y'all think Taff's NFL grade will be? This is interesting. Okay, because Taff can technically come back, right? He has another year of eligibility. Am I wrong about this?
No, he does.
Okay, but most people believe, based on what we observed, I guess senior day or whatever day, that he's leaving. That seems to be. I keep hearing like basically everybody assumes he's leaving. I have not. That's not been confirmed. I have not heard that, but a lot of the discussion is, is he going to get drafted when he goes to the league? So people are thinking he's leaving. Okay, to the question though, Brian's question, CJ, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think Taft's NFL grade will be? So NFL grade meaning, do you think? I guess what round do you think he'll be drafted in, or what area of the draft?
Yeah, I'll say this. I think whatever the grade is for Michael Taft, he's going to outperform that, right? He has the mental. He's a heck of a student of the game when it comes to learning coverages, schemes, communications in the back end. Texas wouldn't be where they were without Michael Taft. Now, to the grade itself, and this is kind of where you kind of have to run into, how's he going to test?
Yep.
How big is he? How much is that going to translate to the game of the NFL? And that's where you run into some issues, right? And I kind of look at Michael Taft, and I see, and I don't want this to come off wrong, but like Javon Carter, guys like that, point guards in the NBA that might be 6 foot, 6'1", stick around for 4 years in college and are really, really darn good. But it's not because they can't go to the league. There's just not necessarily the mold for them in the NBA right away, right? Yeah. They have to stick around because they're a bit undersized, and they end up having great college careers. Do they go on to the NBA? Yeah. In the case of Javon Carter, I think he's had a heck of a career, bounce around 7 or 8 years so far. For Taft, I think it's going to be very much the same. Your skill set's good enough to play in the NFL, but do you have the speed, the height, really the size is kind of what's going to come down to. I think right now, if he were to enter, it'd be a 5 or 6 round draft grade. And I think that's pretty high. But that's why I'm not an NFL draft scout.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be a late round pick, which means like 6th or 7th round if he's drafted the later. Because I don't know how he's going to test, and I don't know where. And NFL scouts, I know the past of being a walk-on and earning a scholarship. It is a great story, but in NFL scouts, it almost knocks you a little bit. Yeah. They give you props for being a 5-star and having that kind of potential. So I think it kind of knocks you. But I wouldn't doubt Michael Taft. I mean, I've watched him achieve too much. And I will say, if he does end up getting drafted, we can probably look through history books for Texas. I can't recall a former walk-on earning a scholarship, earning a starting spot, and becoming a draft pick at Texas that is not a Ricky Williams who was drafted in baseball, or some kicker or something. Like it's I don't know if I've ever seen anybody take that route to the league at Texas anyway. So great story by Michael Taft. All right, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to your point, Rod, NFL scouts and teams would almost rather take the 5-star with the freakish athleticism that didn't perform on the field and say, we can fix them, than a better football player with someone that doesn't necessarily have, the speed or jumping ability, whatnot.
The greatest example of that, do y'all remember the draft that Quandre Diggs was drafted? Do you remember who was drafted? Do you remember Mikael Thompson drafted ahead of him?
Yeah.
You remember that? And everybody was like, hold on, Quandre's a better player. It's like, yeah, but it ain't about that. That's not, but Quandre's going to be a better player. It's like, yeah, he is, but it's not about that. It's not what the draft is about. So ultimately, that's kind of the example I think of. Nothing against Mikael Thompson, just saying, like, that example, he was a better athlete overall and had the metrics and stuff than my man Quandre at the time. And Quandre was short. So I'm hoping for Taft. Sugar Poppy says, thank you, Sugar Poppy, for the super chat. Says, I'm hoping for Taft. I've heard on podcasts from ex-players, the best safeties aren't necessarily the fastest. It's the guys that know where to be. There's no doubt.
Hey, Rob, let me get your thoughts on that. Is safety the spot easiest on the field to dictate, or at least see the difference between football smart and like tracks or football speed and track speed?
Yeah, just because you have a little bit more time to process. First of all, your vision, you actually have the vision to see the entire play develop. You can see these receivers outside. You can see the quarterback, see the backfield. So the angle of the safety, if you do have the football acumen, you are able to process more information because you have more information available to you. And I'm with you. You have a little bit more time to process back there. So football speed, which usually, in my opinion, kind of equates to your ability to diagnose a play and decipher a play, which Taft does really well. His football speed, I think, would actually show up. That's why it shows up at safety so well for him. and he's a corner. Did he play corner in high school, something like that?
Yeah,
corner at one time. So he knows how to cover. I'm not saying he can cover elite athletes straight up, all right, but he knows about angles, all right, and you can tell that even when he's got to cover from the safety position. So I'm rooting for Michael Taff. I would come back to school if I was him. If I got that other year, considering what you can make in NIL at Texas right now, and considering the connections he's got with that university and in the city of Austin, I would come back for the year. But I will say this: if you're going to go to the NFL, you're supposed to go when your stock is high. Is Taft's stock going to be higher?
No.
He's going to play better than he played this year.
He's not going to grow. He's not going to get faster.
Unfortunately.
I mean, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You got to know when to go.
You got to know when to go, know when to hold them, and know when to fold them. All right. You know who can help you with that is the Carrot Concierge. Reach out to our friend Jody, and this holiday season, you can get matter of fact, you get a lot of love for getting the perfect gift this gift giving season. If you're looking for the right gift for that woman in your life, make sure you check out thecarrotconcierge.com. Jody Reynolds is a personal jeweler. She is the Carrot Concierge with an office right there in Westlake. Jody focuses on men, helping men purchase the special gift for that special person in their lives. You can use the QR code that's going to be on your screen right here momentarily, and visit her on Instagram or visit her website, thecarrotconcierge.com. Jody prides herself in providing personal service. She takes the extra steps to make sure your lady gets exactly what she wants, and because she doesn't have the overhead of a storefront, she often can get the highest quality inventory at the lowest possible prices, as much as 30% less than what you'd expect to see at a jewelry store. So you see the QR code right there on your screen. You can just scan that QR code right there, and it'll take you to thecarrotconcierge.com, or you can just go look it up yourself. If you're looking for something special, birthdays or anniversaries, or with the gift giving season right around the corner, the Carrot Concierge is the perfect place for you to find the perfect gift this gift giving season. She has a variety of tennis bracelets, rings, necklaces, and more, all beautiful jewelry, all personalized for you and yours. Check out thecarrotconcierge.com and visit her website, or give her a call today or a text, and she'll take care of you so you can take care of that special person in your life. Thank you very much to Jody and her team for being a part of our team here at On Texas Football. All right, let's get back to the super chats here. How about this one from Daniel? He says, does the college football committee recalibrate next year after all of this criticism? Assuming the game doesn't go to 16 teams to playoff, our first year in the expanded playoff was a little disappointing. I think they will go to 16 at one point, but
no, I definitely think they're going to 16. I think the interesting thing, guys, is do they change it from conference champions, the four highest ranked conference champions get a bye, to just the top four teams in the rankings get a bye? But Sark mentioned that in some of his media stuff, and I think that is the one change that I think needs to be made right now. Because look, I'm not saying taking a shot at Arizona State. Dillingham's done an amazing job, but should they get a bye over Texas? Really? I mean, like, Texas is ranked 3 for the committee, right? Should Texas be playing a first-round game and Arizona State get a bye? I mean, that's, to me, is the one issue I would have with it right now, guys, is I think just the top 4 ranked teams should get the byes right now. That's just the way it should be. You can't be penalized if you have two of the highest ranked 3 teams in one conference. Mm-hmm. I mean, I that's the one issue I have with where the rankings are shaking out right now.
All right. Thank you for the question there, Daniel. Appreciate it. Justin, this is from you, Jerry. Thank you, Justin, for the super chat. Says, Jerry, will Galveston County have a stud player in the 26th class? And is it too early for a must-get recruit in the 26th class?
Well, must-get recruits John Turntime. 5-star offensive tackle out of North Raleigh. I think, Rod, I don't know if you've watched his junior stuff.
I watched him after you told me about him. I watched him. It's amazing to see a big man move. Like, I've never seen a lineman move that well.
You think he's built for the outside zone and wide zone? It's like he's almost like the perfect tackle recruit, even though he's 6'3" and 5'8". He's almost perfect for this scheme. He can play in space. He is so athletic pulling. It's crazy. He's the must-get for me, especially needing tackle in 2026, and he's at North Crowley. His sister goes to Texas. The other one goes to Houston Tilton. There's so many factors there. CJ and I have covered that for a while. Galveston County, I'm not sure on that, man. That was a 25 heavy. I mean, Jonah to Texas, Malcolm Simpson to Nebraska, Kelshaw to A&M, big offensive lineman at Dickinson, Tyler Thomas to A&M. I think it was pretty much seniors in Galveston County. I'll have to see. Galveston Ball is a pretty good receiver, but I don't think he's that level as of right now. So I don't see the 26 guys. Skoron at Texas City, by the way. Yarbo's a Texas City guy. Skoron going to Arizona State's a really good player, by the way, at safety. I think he signed with Arizona State, but I think it was 25 heavy.
All right. Thanks, Jared, for that. Thank you, Justin, for the super chat. Another super chat here from Juan. He says, what you all think if Belichick was to coach at Texas, though, how would he have done? As Belichick's coach at Texas? That's a good question. CJ, what do you think? I mean, Texas doesn't have, I would say this. Texas has a cool factor to it, but I don't know if he'd work with the boosters.
I was gonna pitch it right back to you, Rod, and say as much of a politician as Mac Brown was, the way that he was able to finagle and kind of sweet talk his way into the booster seat, I don't know if you'd get that from Bill Belichick.
That's the biggest concern, honestly, because Texas is gonna get talent because it's Texas. I'm gonna have faith that maybe Bill Belichick will bring in the right coach to develop the talent.
That would the on-field coaching from Bill Belichick, would that outweigh maybe some of the charismaticness, the charisma that's not there? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think he's got to hire some really dynamic, young, vibrant coaches. And if he does, Belichick's got a chance to, he's got a chance to be successful. At Texas, every coach has a chance to be successful at Texas because you have all the resources you need. Right? So any coach, you have a chance to be successful. It's on you whether, you make the right decisions as a coach. And we've seen that that's not always the case. Right? Sark's right now making all the right moves, doing a great job. But yeah, we'll see what Belichick, what he does at North Carolina. I can't wait to watch the experiment. I can't wait. I would wait is MJ involved in this thing? Do we got how much is MJ involved in this? Is MJ stepping up here? Is he going to be involved at all? Let's see, MJ going to be on the sideline of North Carolina football. I don't even see him on the sideline for North Carolina games. Is he ever there?
No, Faye. By the way, no offense to Mac, but this is actually the first football coach that may be more popular than the basketball coach at North Carolina.
Damn, so they had to get Bill Belichick to come in after Mac. Mac don't like that, I can tell you right now. He was hoping it'd be a hangover, right? Like, you're hoping when you break up with your ex, you don't want them to immediately upgrade right after. Right. Nobody wants that, right? You don't want to break up with your ex and she immediately starts dating like some rock star or some millionaire celebrity. That's basically what happened. Mac, North Carolina, and they broke up and with Mac, and now they upgraded to arguably the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. Yeah.
Tom Brady may make an appearance at North Carolina from time to time. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Oh, he's a Michigan man, though. Michigan ain't Connor Stallions would be pissed, man. He'd go after him. Connor ain't happy.
They're both Jordan Brand. You can spot the two.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I will say this though. I've been mentioning that Texas needed to go into North Carolina because there's so many good defensive linemen in that state. That did just get a little more difficult. I will say that if he hires the right staff, and they did up the NIL game, which is being reported, that's a game changer for them because the best state in the country for 2026 defensive linemen right now is actually North Carolina.
Oh, don't tell
Bill Belichick be around to see those.
A&M has a kid committed. There was a kid, Noah Clark, that Texas brought in for a visit. They have like 6 or 7 2026 4-star defensive linemen in that state.
Interesting. Yep, I like that.
I don't know about if Michael Jordan's going to be involved or Anthony Edwards or Jimmy Butler, by the way. For those to see the familiarity.
Jimmy Butler. All right, let's get to home field and thank them really quickly while we as we approach the end of our live stream. We'll get to some more of your questions before we get done. I promise you that. But I thank our friends at Home Field Apparel very quickly. Home Field Apparel focused on creating officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. They have a wide range of available colleges, 180 plus and growing every day. Their football boxes are magnificent, folks. They contain 3 never-before-seen items unavailable anywhere else. You can only get them at homefieldapparel.com. Their Platinum Box VIPs receive additional exclusive items, new hat or ringer for Platinum VIPs only. They also get the Platinum Pass, guaranteeing 20% off and early access to a lot of their exclusive items. And also at Home Field Apparel, if you use that code Texas24, you'll get 15% off right now of all of their items on their website. The convenience of online shopping has never been better. Use that code Texas24 and you'll get 15% off at homefieldapparel.com. Check out their vintage designs at homefieldapparel.com. Really appreciate them for sponsoring our live stream. All right, getting back to the super chats here. Ryan, thank you, Ryan, for the super chat. He says, Zealous Hicks, Nick Brooks, Winston, all in-state title games. Hicks and Brooks face off against each other.
That's going to be a hell of a game, man. I mean, Grayson and Carrollton, that's a hell of a game. When I went through Grayson, I thought there were upwards of 5, counting the young kids, 5, 6 NFL kids potential on that field, just doing this a long time. Carrollton has a few as well. That's going to be one heck of a game. By the way, Duncanville and North Crowley play this week. You want to talk about a hell of a game in Texas now. That is the 2 most talented teams in the state this year. They're about to go at it because like they did last year. But that Grayson Carrollton, that game will have 30, 40 future FBS players on the field at different points in times. Because some are going to be a little younger. But Duncanville, North Crowley may have more.
More than 40?
Duncanville, yeah.
The 2 rosters combined?
Yeah, I mean, Duncanville's carrying 25, 30 D1 kids on their team from sophomore to senior class now.
That's not even fair.
There's going to be 3 5-stars, Keelan Russell, DeCorian Moore, John Turntine, at least on that field for Duncanville, North Crowley.
That's crazy.
I mean, that game's juiced up with talent.
I've never played against a team, I played against North Shore back in the day, and Houston Lamar. You always had to go through North Shore, Katie, to make it through that second round of the playoffs. North Shore, that team was loaded. They probably had 7, 8 guys. I think that played the next year, so probably total maybe 15, 20 on the roster. If you look at all the classes, but you said that is great to have that many on the field at the same time. Wow, it's unbelievable. All right. Thank you for that. Super chat. Appreciate it. Clay K says college football tickets got delivered today. Let's go.
There you go.
Where do you guys think Quinn's draft stock sits after this season? Round 2 or 3 at best? That's interesting because we know they overdraft quarterback. They overlook the downside and they only see the upside when you're looking at these QBs. Yeah. So if he can be in the top 3 to 4 quarterbacks coming out, it's a good chance he can still land in the first round. But right now, I don't know if he is a first rounder.
No.
The way he looks right now, I don't know if I can say that.
At this point, and it kind of sucks to say, but at this point, the best thing on the pro side for Quinn Ewers is that he's only 21, right? You know, he's going to enter the NFL as one of the younger quarterbacks in the entire league. I know the NFL is a win now kind of situation. But you have seen teams take quarterbacks very early in drafts, much earlier than they probably should have been. Yeah. You look most recently, I mean, it was Jordan Love in Green Bay. You had an MVP Aaron Rodgers. Look, we just saw Michael Penix get taken 12th, and he's not played it down even after 4-year extension for Kirk Cousins. So you get where I'm going with that. You never know which team is going to reach on a quarterback for the future. And I think the upside with Quinn will at least keep him in the day 2 conversation. But it's not going to be in the first round. It's not going to be where I think they want this to be coming in to the season.
I think it's going to be interesting about Quinn is, one, I think the playoffs are crucial for him in his NFL draft stock. I really believe that. And I'm not talking stats. I'm not talking, hey, you're 27 to 36 for 288 yards. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about playing under duress and red zone. Those are going to be huge, I think. If he can play a little better as he gets healthier, maybe in those scenarios coming down the stretch, that's going to help him but if he struggles in the red zone, can his pro day workouts offset that, Rob? Because he's going to be great throwing on there.
It's going to be beautiful. Yeah, it's going to look good.
He missed one throw in the Texas pro day last year. Yeah. CJ, you were there. He missed one throw.
He missed a corner route.
He's going to tear that thing up again.
Yeah, he is.
But how are the scouts going to look at that if he doesn't play at the level they maybe want to see him as from a playmaking, red zone, playing under duress, the things that are going to be so required in the NFL.
Yeah.
If he doesn't perform at where they want to see him in the playoffs, how is that going to balance out? He's going to be impressive in interviews. It's going to actually be kind of fascinating to see what happens there.
I agree. It's a good point though about how he finishes too. That dang Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart is kind of responsible for tanking Quinn's draft stock. Look, those 2 games, it looked good in the first half, and then the second half in the red zone, as you're talking about, Jerry. And that's when you're going up against, other than Michigan, the most NFL talent you've seen on the other side of the ball too. So he's got a chance to do that though, like you said, in the playoffs down the stretch here. All right, super chats. Thank you, Jose. Thank you for the super chat. Says, guys, if you had one trip to any away game in the 2025 season, where y'all going? CJ, boom. I already know because CJ gets to go. CJ's going anyway. What are you most excited about going, CJ? Then what you all?
I want to see the swamp. I know. I want to see the swamp, and with the way that schedule was released tonight, we've talked about it a little bit. The other SEC games that weekend are not very pretty. Look, I think that's going to be a night game in the swamp. I think you're going to be looking at a pretty exciting atmosphere. And that's something that I don't think you'll get to experience very often with Texas and Florida being on really the 2 different sides of the SEC. But I'm really looking forward to that trip.
I think look, normally Ohio State would win this type of discussion. I actually think they're 3. Georgia, because of what the budding rivalry, would be kind of crazy in Athens next year. And it's a great college town. But to CJ, the Swamp's probably maybe the most fun. You have Spurrier's Bar and Grill there you can go to, which he's in there almost every day. He does podcasts in there. That's a really cool place to go have lunch or something. That's a great setup. The Swamp, there's something, a little something to that when they're good, which with DJ Lagway, obviously DJ Lagway and Arch on the field going at it.
Yeah.
Spurrier Bar and Grill. Everybody's going to be in town for that one. The Georgia game, it's tough. I would go if I was a fan. If you happen to go to Ohio State in 05, I'd bypass that and do Georgia and Florida is what I would do as a fan because they're both coming off the schedule.
It's going to be cool for Texas fans who travel to Ann Arbor to compare the 2 back-to-back years because you get Ann Arbor this year and you're going to get Ohio State in Columbus next year. You get to compare the 2, one of the biggest rivalries in all the country. That I think that's pretty cool. Little tidbit right there for college football fanatics.
Yeah, no, it is. Those are some nice road trips. I think I'm going with right now. I think I'd go at Georgia just because I think it's becoming kind of an it rivalry. Yeah. I'm hoping Texas gets to see them again. That'd be pretty cool. All right, good question there. Juan here says Dan Mullen to UNLV finalizing a deal. Interesting.
No sharks in the desert.
No.
I want to know. So I want to know what Brendan Marion's going to do. Right, Brendan Marion was the OC there, right? What did the OC there? And they were doing a good. Their offense was pretty good. It's pretty potent. I did a good job. So I wonder what he's going to go.
I'm not sure I'd go to Purdue with him, with Barry Odom. I don't think I'd go up there.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I'd go there either. And he's a fast riser. He might want to go do his own thing. So interesting. Good question there. Good comment there. Appreciate that.
It is interesting though.
Clint says, what's the plan for kicker next year? Will Stone kick field goals?
That's one of the spots that maybe Texas kind of toys around in the portal with. If the red option comes up, I hate to completely throw Auburn, completely away, but look, you gotta make your kicks, right? You can't miss 2 kicks in a championship situation. You're right around 65% on the season. That's not going to cut it long term, especially with the history that Texas had at kicker. There's a standard there, and that's a position that puts points on the board. You got to be good at.
Yeah, that's crazy. We're talking about Texas looking at a kicker in the transfer portal right now, but that's the reality of how inconsistent the kicking game has been. Thanks for that, Clint. Abe has a super chat here. Thank you, Abe. Go to 9 conference games and scrap championship game. That starts. Really?
Yeah, I think that's eventually happening, right? CJ, that's already being talked about. That's going to happen.
Yes, and I'm so for it. I'm so for the 9 conference games. I'm so for ditching a team that can't really compete with any of the SEC teams. A&M has Samford the week before Texas.
Crazy.
I mean, give me a break. Get these, everybody should have one big non-conference. You can schedule the 2 directional schools, whoever your sister schools might be inside the state. That's great. Keep the university economy booming. But miss me with a third just nonsensical game. I hate it.
Yeah, if you're gonna play big boy football, let's play big boy football then. And I agree with that too. Good point. Thank you, Abe. We appreciate that. Let's thank our last sponsor of the evening, Andy Ludicky and his team, for sponsoring our team. If you're looking to diversify, you may be someone like me that has their hands in multiple businesses. Well, Andy can help you diversify by finding you businesses that will fit your time allotment and your financial goals. If you're stuck in the corporate rat race with 2 weeks PTO and no control over the money you can make or your schedule in general, call Andy and he will take you through a process to help you find a business that will fit your skill sets and your financial goals. Franchise ownership isn't for everyone, but if you have a desire to take control of your financial destiny, call Andy today at 404-973-9901, or you can email him at andy@myperfectfranchise.net. That's andy@myperfectfranchise.net. And we appreciate Andy for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream here. All right, we're getting close to the end of
Can I answer one real quick? It's been asked, I think, 2 or 3 times. Kevin Coleman, Mississippi State receiver in the portal. Not a name we've heard. Not saying Texas won't take a look at him. Feels like, though, they may be waiting around a little bit right now. We'll see who else jumps in the portal. But a guy that Texas did recruit a little bit last time. Anybody have in the chat, since we're on air, have an update on who won the Lombardi Award? Because Kelvin Banks was one of 4 finalists, and that should be happening right now.
It started at 8, so I don't know if they announced it yet. Maybe they did. Sometimes they like to, dilly-dally with that kind of thing. Take their sweet time. Just one other question, though, since you are answering questions about possible transfer portal interest from Texas. PLL Superfan Forever. Do you think Andrell Anthony would be a good option for a wide receiver out of the portal?
I question where his strength and health will be after that injury, and there's kind of some ruckus right now with how the medical staff at Oklahoma handled it, how he handled it, where treatment was handled. I don't know.
Him and Nick Anderson, there's some stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't think I would touch either.
Yeah. Okay. Santi says, still disappointed in Sydir Mitchell hitting the portal. Any interest in Mizzou edge Williams Nerineri?
Yeah, he was the number 1 ranked player in the country in Colin Simmons' class, Dylan Stewart's class. He wasn't the pass rusher; those guys were. He picked Missouri over Georgia coming out of high school. I think Georgia may control that one, but I don't think Texas will have interest in an edge unless Trey Moore goes pro. But then it's going to be somebody that can play a similar role that Trey Moore did. I don't think that Williams Nwaneri is more of that strong side, that the Colton Vossick, Ethan Barron Sorrell side. I just don't see that being a fit.
I would be not too surprised if Oklahoma tried to make a big splash there.
Yeah, they were in the final 3.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff there, guys. All right. Thank you guys for the super chat. Oh, one more. Got Clay K here. Thank you, K. Appreciate that, Clay K. Jerry, what recruit from the 2020 class are you most excited about? Texas target or not?
That's not on turn time.
That's not turn time.
Yes,
I think Jalen Lott.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it because his Texas legacy is a really interesting football player. He's kind of like Nick Townsend in a way that he could play receiver or corner. I haven't seen him this year just as successfully. But there's a teammate of his, and wow, I can't believe his name's escaping me. Donovan Webb. Of all the kids I saw this year on school visits that I was like, the coach had said, hey, this guy's got a chance to be a really good player for us. Then when I saw him in person, I walked away and said, coach was like 1,000,000% right. Donovan Webb, the safety at Panther Creek, is very interesting, Rod. You should watch that huddle. Ohio State and Oklahoma just recently offered him, and I think he's every bit that good. I think he may end up being a top 100 kid in the country, go from unranked to top 100 in the country. Texas knows about him. He was at least 1 game this year. I'll be surprised if he's not a guy Texas offers. I think he's really dang good. Just a playmaker. Just makes plays.
Just a baller. Clay K, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that. Thank you to all of our sponsors as well. Thank you to Andy Ludicky. Really appreciate him and his team as well. Thank you to DG Construction, The Carrot Concierge as well, homefieldapparel.com. Really appreciate all of our sponsors. And thank you to Jerry. Thank you for the time, Jared, and the knowledge. Thank you, CJ, as well, for all the nuggets. We appreciate you. And thank you all you guys out there for joining and watching. Can't thank Matthew enough behind the scenes. He is the real MVP. So we appreciate Matthew each and every time. And thank all you guys. Remember, tomorrow you got Coffee and Football starting early at 8 a.m. You don't want to miss that. And of course, you'll have our Thursday night Thursday lineup with CJ, Coach Shipley, and myself of the winning drive starting around 3:15. So 8 a.m. you got Coffee and Football. Around 3:15 you'll have the winning drive. So thank you guys for watching and for listening. And until next time, hook 'em horns.